Okay, so with the release of the newest stage of the battle-hardened Formidable Foes, we have an interesting unit that has resurfaced to have incredible value, and that is the TEQ Caulifla. This unit is a unit that has been a big meme in the community for years, I think. It's honestly, I think, one of the reasons why people used to say when the red zone came out that TEQ Caulifla was the reason why Broly disabled dodge. Because obviously TEQ Caulifla, even in her SSR state, because you can see on this rotation we have the SSR, TEQ Caulifla has a 100% chance to dodge when facing a pure Saiyan or Universe Survival Saga enemy. So with the new stage of the battle-hardened Formidable Foes, every single enemy is a Universe Survival Saga enemy. So the interesting thing about this is the strategy with TEQ Caulifla has always been, like, you can bring her on a team for a specific EZA or like a specific event, red zone stage, stuff like that, right? And she can be a character that will not take any damage. The funny thing about it is on this team is that when it comes to this new stage, the battle-hardened Formidable Foes, like, the slot 1 units are really, really important. Like, people have been talking about how even characters, we're even seeing people saying like characters like Beast are falling off because when you get to like turn 1 against some of these bosses, they're doing such ridiculous damage to you straight away, even from turn 1, that like if you get supered in slot 1, even some of these units like Beast Gohan are taking big damage. So one of the toughest things for some of these new teams is having the right slot 1 units. So one of the things that we have gone over before is talking about slot 1 units for these teams and how none of the anniversary headliners are slot 1 units early on in the event. So basically you have to build your team, because even like say this team, right, with double Vegito leads and AGL Gogeta on the team, you can't use them in slot 1 like on the first turn because of the amount of damage that they will take. So that's why we build the team with characters like Beast Gohan, TEQ Broly, TEQ Giant 8 Vegeta, and they're going to sit in slot 1 and be able to tank these supers, potentially taking some damage, but ideally obviously not enough damage to actually get killed. And then we build the rest of the team around doing the damage for this event in particular, like doing status effects like attack lowering and stuff like that. Whereas with the Caulifla strategy, you don't need to do that, right? We don't actually need to worry about having any slot 1 units on the team. I've actually still got Beast on this build. I guess because like his active skill can be useful and stuff. But like you actually don't need another slot 1 unit on the team. Now obviously they're not always going to super in slot 1. So having Beast here on this turn, for example, is quite good because there's a load of attacks at the end. If any one of those is a super attack, then obviously we're going to dodge. So we don't have to worry about taking damage in slot 1 at all. Now the trade-off, obviously, is the fact that she's not going to do any damage, especially the SSR version. I'm just going to bring up the stats here for all of these guys for this run. Because that's the thing, when it comes to the battle-hardened Formidable Foes event, like, none of these bosses have things like locking and stuff like that. None of the enemies disable dodge. It's only the red zone stages that have those things. The bosses in this event, the most that they have is abilities where they can build up attack and defense and stuff. But they don't have locking, sealing, dodge disable, any of that kind of stuff. So realistically, if you have this setup with the TEQ Cauliflas, the only danger you really have of getting killed is if you're then going to eat a super later in the turn. But my experience with these runs on the Formidable Foes stages, they do very often super attack in slot 1. And then if you have other units on the team that can start like lowering attack and things like that, which we don't on this particular build. I guess it's one of those things, if you're struggling with this stage, you could make a build for this where you're running double TEQ Caulifla in slot 1, and then in slot 2 have units that lower attack. Ideally that can still tank, right? Like TEQ Super Gogeta EZA and stuff like that. Let's do that. Yeah, units that could still tank just in case, I suppose. But then you have every single turn, you're going to have your unit in slot 1 not taking any damage. And then the next unit in slot 2 lowers the attack of the enemy. Because, I mean, we've got all these attacks in slot 1 here. Are we going to get supered in slot 1 here? I've also put STR Vegeta on the team. I feel like the more I use the 2 Tournament of Power units, the more I like the Vegeta more than Frieza. But obviously Goku is better than the Frieza part by a significant margin. But this guy is actually a really, really good, this Blue Evolution Vegeta, really good slot 2 unit. He's got his issues, of course, with like the additionals only having a 30% chance to become supers. But like post-attacking, his defense is really good. And if you do get the supers, like he can do a pretty significant amount of damage. But obviously he could have been way better, which is the huge issue for him, I suppose. But yeah, he had the potential to be so much better, but it is what it is. But yeah, double TEQ Caulifla on the team just allows you to have that unit in slot 1, because even when we talked about the video I made the other day where I talked about how valuable TEQ Broly is as a slot 1 character, he does get weaker defensively as the fight goes on. He never becomes like super weak defensively, but obviously for this event you're not really usually getting to like turn 7 or onwards, right? But once you've transformed into Legendary Super Saiyan and then 3 turns have passed, so he loses the extra bit of damage reduction, then he can get caught sometimes. And then yeah, you get to, obviously this first phase against Kefla is a little bit longer because she has 3 phases, so then you can set this up. And obviously if we weren't going to use the target ability, which I mean there's no reason not to because of the way this rotation is going to play out, but yeah, like we can't lose on this turn now basically, because even if we didn't have a target ability, Caulifla just eats everything in slot 1, as in dodges. I guess she doesn't actually eat any attacks, she dodges all the attacks in slot 1, and then we get our boys to attack, and then that's it. But obviously we can go ahead and use the active skill with the Geo. But yeah, setting up the double active skill turn. And now what's she going to do? I mean, she's probably going to get... I mean, actually, Gogeta might get a chance to attack, but otherwise she's just going to get countered to death by Vegito. Before she even gets to Super, Vegeta's going to counter, what, like 5 times, and then Gogeta's going to do his Supers. So, whilst there is still the possibility that this is going to be a run that could end with like a Super in the wrong slot, because you got to think the early turn versions of Goku and Vegeta are not the best. Although, of course, in their first forms, like the TEQ one being Goku and the AGL one being Vegeta, in their first forms, they're better in slot 2 or 3. So, again, by having like a dedicated slot 1 unit, you don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, this stage in particular, obviously this strategy only works for the stages with specific enemies. But yeah, like, she basically just can't take damage in this stage at all. And then the funny thing is, obviously she's not on the team to do damage, so we're not particularly bothered about that, but she is actually on Gifted Warriors, which means if you run her on the AGL Vegeta team, like the Gogeta, she gets the full leader skill from him, because she's a Pure Saiyan and then is in Gifted Warriors. So on this team, obviously she's only under the Pure Saiyan's leader skill, so only getting the 170 lead, but it's also interesting to think about when it comes to this event with the shorter stages, which of the 2 team builds is the best. Because honestly, I guess if you really want to go for the easiest run of this particular event, like the Formidable Foes one, running the double Gogeta leads, not only is she getting that full leader skill, which again doesn't really matter because she's not on the team for the damage, but running that team means you have the double AGL Vegeta, which means you can kind of set up your rotations each fight so that you literally on turn 4 have one of the Vegetas on rotation, use the Veku active skill for the Ghost Usher, and then potentially, depending on the rotation, the next Vegeta could be on the turn, on like the next turn. And then technically you would be able to fuse into Gogeta. But in terms of actually like winning, if you just want to win the stage, especially if you have the likelihood that that's going to be the final turn, then yeah, you just use the Veku active skill. Like, Veku active skill is so ridiculously good for this event, because like a free Ghost Usher in an event where these enemies are hitting like super hard is obviously really, really good. And then yeah, the only thing you kind of have to put up with, which is not the end of the world, but it's not ideal, is the fact that yeah, especially the SSR Caulifla struggles for ki, isn't really going to do any damage, but obviously it's not the end of the world. But it also can help with the fact that, you know, it makes the fight go on potentially that extra turn longer, which then means you're more likely to get the Vegito and Gogeta to come out and get those active skills off and just get that crazy guaranteed win like turn. Because realistically, if you get to turn 5 in this event, and you have then the turn where you get out Vegito and Gogeta on the same turn, like, you just win. Like, Gogeta first, active skill, buffs Vegito, at Vegito active skill, you've already just done a ton of damage, and then Vegito counters everything, and then between the two of them, their super attacks obviously do insane damage. So, but yeah, this is a very good, like, straightforward way for getting these done. And it's funny when you think that when it comes to the red zone stages, a lot of them disable dodge in the ones that we had with the Universe Survival Saga enemies, right? Like, hit disables dodge. There's a phase where Topo and Jiren, like in the two opposite red zone stages, disable dodge. And again, you could argue, like back in the day with the Broly red zone stage, that the reason why it's so many of the Universe Survival Saga bosses disabling dodge in these new events is because you could just bring TEQ Caulifla and then you have someone on the team that is just guaranteed dodging all of those attacks, right? Because that is an incredibly powerful... It's one of the reasons why AGL UI Goku has aged and will age so well for short events. Obviously, we all know he can still be an absolute salesman after the first turn, but it's because on that first turn he has a guaranteed dodge, which, you know, should go without saying, is the best form of like defense. The best tank in the game is a tank that just 100% dodges, because you don't take any damage. Even if there was a unit that takes double-digit damage from literally every single attack in the game, a unit who dodges every attack is still a better tank than them, technically, because you're taking 0 instead of double digits, right? I shouldn't need to explain that. So, in these events where you are fighting a Universe Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan character, then yeah, TEQ Caulifla is still basically the best tank in the game. And when it comes to defensive units, we don't really care if they're not doing big damage. And as I've said earlier, like, it allows us to then set up our team so that we have her in slot 1 to do the defensive work, all the like heavy lifting in terms of us not dying, and then we have our units in slot 2 and 3 that are there to do the damage. So yeah, not getting crits with the Vegeta is not ideal. Hey, shout out to Jade Rex for re-upping their membership. Ningen Club member for 15 months. Let's go. We ride at dawn if we don't get the 7-year Easy A's. Yeah, this is being recorded while we're on stream in the 7-year Easy A waiting room. At this time, we should hopefully only be waiting 15 minutes for the details. So, obviously, if you guys see this video at some point later and we did not get the details, then rip all of us here waiting. But, yeah, so again, like Beast here, for example, all these little things on the team are going to be added advantages. So, like, I could Ghost Usher with Beast here, which, with the Veku active skill. Or, because obviously, again, if we do get to turn 5, we can get, like, the fusions and stuff going on. I can just active skill with Beast, because on the active skill turn, he will be able to tank supers and stuff like that, right? Even if he does get supered straight away. So we can go ahead and do that. So yeah, that's the thing. If you have TEQ Caulifla as your dedicated slot 1, you can bring other units on the team that are either just here to do damage or have some of these other utility abilities as well, like big support units and stuff. That's the thing. You still have to worry about like what will happen if that unit takes a super attack, because like say for example, I could have brought on the team in Super Saiyan 2 LR Super EZA like Gohan, who I do think is maybe underrated if you kind of just look at him as being a floating support unit. But obviously one of the things I talked about when we did his showcase is just like any sort of floating support unit, if he's the one that ends up getting tagged with a super in slot 3, then you can still lose, right? But on this team, with the fact that we could have the Veku Ghost Usher, we've got our dedicated slot 1 character, like we probably could have got away with running in Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, but having Beast on here I think is probably a better fill-in, because obviously we can have the active skill, and then that just prevents that little bit of extra security against, like, say on this turn Vegeta had been supered, but obviously he can't because on this turn we used the Beast active skill. So but yeah, it's funny that like STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is kind of still somewhat runnable. I'm really looking forward to his Super EZA. But yeah, here again we get to turn 5. So turn 5. And that's one of the things, one of the contributing factors to being able to get to this turn is the fact that Cauliflas in slot 1 are not really doing any damage. So it's taking us a little bit longer to kill the boss than it would in the previous runs that we've done, because we have our slot 1 unit. Like if you're running a team where you have Beast or you have TEQ Broly as your slot 1 character, then obviously they are still able to contribute a relatively decent bit of damage. I didn't realise we were about to get the Dokkan attack. I should have put Vegeta in slot 1. But then I guess there you go. TEQ Caulifla Dokkan attack. Let's go. If I'd realised we were going to get the Dokkan attack, I would have put Vegeta in slot 1. But doesn't matter because we've got the active skill for Vegeta and everything as well. But either way, we should absolutely destroy her on this turn. Obviously with Vegeta, the earlier in the turn he supers, the more his damage his counters do, but we're not trying to mess up our rotations here. But yeah, I don't know, I don't think I'll go through like the full run of this event in the video, just because the whole point was just to talk about TEQ Caulifla and how you can bring her as a slot 1 unit for this event, and it's obviously going to work out pretty well, as you can see from this entire run. I think so far the only unit that's been super attacked has been a unit with their target ability up, who's obviously going to be able to tank it like Beast on the previous turn, or TEQ Caulifla, who then of course just dodges and takes no damage. So as you can see, very, very effective strategy when it comes to beating this particular stage. Because yeah, Vegito, how many times is she attacking in the middle? 3 times. Yeah, so then Vegito attacks and then we still have 2 more counters. So yeah, as you can see, there's absolutely no way that she's surviving the turn. But yeah, that turn 4, that's why I think the non-fusion versions of the Goku and Vegeta, I probably do like the Gogeta version more, because that turn 4 Ghost Usher is so ridiculously good. Because like it's fun to get the fusions out, it's like more flashy and cool to like use the fusions, but yeah, having that Ghost Usher is just so good. But yeah, next phase is against Topo, and then obviously the phase after this is against Jiren. So every single enemy in this stage is a Universe Survival Saga character. So there you go, there's another slot 1 super before we get to attack, and we just dodge and take no damage. So that damage from Caulifla though, what an absolute beast, right? But there you go. So I'm going to end it off here. Obviously we've seen what we needed to see. We've gone through the first 2 fights, and realistically, like, have we taken any damage at all outside of like double digits, really? throughout this entire run. So obviously, unfortunately, the downside to this event is it is quite long. But yeah, if you're struggling with this event, TEQ Caulifla, absolutely goated slot 1 unit. This is why a lot of people like myself for this video have kept an SSR copy of her, which realistically you don't even need to put like dupes in or anything, but that helps for the overall like HP of the team and stuff like that. But you could literally have a freshly pulled like 55% or even 0% TEQ Caulifla, and she's not going to do any damage, of course, but she dodges all the attacks, which is what she's on the team to do. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Did any of you guys try this out already when you did your first clear? Because that's the thing, with these guys' leader skill having pure Saiyans, there's a lot of units that you can just kind of throw on the team. But of course, the funny thing is, because her dodge is part of her passive, you can run her on a team where she's not even getting the leader skill. Like, we could run the physical Super Saiyan 2 Gohan full power team, and then just throw her on there. The only downside to doing that is the fact that because she doesn't get the leader skill, so obviously it means your overall team HP is going to be quite low, which could be bad if like the wrong unit ends up taking a super, because of course the amount of HP we're going to have for the team drops a decent amount if you have a unit on the team that isn't getting the leader skill. So but either way, like, depending on what your best team is for you to take on this event with, regardless of whether she's on the leader skill or not, you could technically just throw TEQ Caulifla on there. But especially if you're running the double, like I am, right, running the TUR and the SSR, then you put yourself in kind of even worse of a position, right, if she's not getting the leader skill, because that's 2 units on your team that are not contributing to the overall HP. So then you're potentially going to be in a bad spot when it comes to getting hit. I mean, you can see here as well, like, Beast Gohan as a floating unit is not exactly the best, right? He doesn't get hit first, so he doesn't get any of his buffs, so we don't kill. But as we've mentioned multiple times now, the lower damage output essentially just contributes towards you then being able to get the fusions out like more easily, to then get those like flashy finishes or to get the active skills. But yeah, there you go. TEQ Caulifla, we got TUR TEQ Caulifla, we got AGL, the SSR Caulifla. But yeah, when there is a universe survival saga or pure Saiyan's enemy evades enemy attacks. So let me know how you guys got on with this event anyway. Did you use the Caulifla strats? Did you use your strongest team, Formidable Foes, Dragon Ball Super Part 2? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. But yeah, any future content we get that has a pure Saiyan enemy or a Universe Survival Saga enemy that doesn't disable dodge, then TEQ Caulifla can be a go-to like defensive unit. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.